I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous.
Even Hollywood's favorite goofball, Jim Carrey, has a shocking list of actors he can't stand. Fans were stunned when the comedian revealed the 6 actors he truly disliked, showing a side of him few ever expected. So, who are the actors Jim had rocky relationships with?
Say Jim Carrey. Yes.
What?
I've covered a lot of fashion weeks. This is the first time I've run into Jim Carrey. Wait, tell me, is it true you're wandering the streets? You need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine.
And what really happened that turned their relationships into full-blown grudges? Join us as we reveal the 6 actors who can't stand Jim, and the feeling is mutual. Number 6. Will Smith. It all started with the unforgettable moment at the 2022 Oscars when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage. The unexpected incident quickly went viral, sparking endless reactions from fans and celebrities alike. One of the people who spoke up was Jim Carrey, who didn't hold back his frustration with Will Smith. He openly shared his irritation, making it clear how he felt about the whole situation. In an interview with CBS's This Morning on March 29th, Jim Carrey shared his frustration about the Oscars moment when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. He wasn't happy with how the situation was handled, especially since Will won the Best Actor award for King Richard shortly after. For Jim, Hollywood's reaction to the incident was shocking and disappointing. The standing ovation Smith received felt entirely wrong for him, and made it clear that Hollywood isn't holding people accountable like it should. The host pointed out that if anyone else in the audience had done the same thing, they would probably have been kicked out or even arrested. Jim agreed and said that it should have happened in this case as well. The whole situation left him feeling that the industry is full of people who don't take responsibility for their actions, and that fame often protects celebrities from the consequences they would face in any normal setting. Jim also revealed that it wasn't just about one slap or one joke. The way influential people are treated when they cross the line sends a message to everyone about what behavior is acceptable. For him, the incident just reaffirmed the fact that sometimes the system protects the wrong people, and it's frustrating to watch. When the topic of Chris Rock not pressing charges came up, Jim made it clear that the situation left him stunned, and that if it were him, he would have filed a $200 million lawsuit because that video of the slap will exist forever. For him, there's a clear line. If you want to express disapproval, you can yell from the audience or post on social media, but you don't have the right to walk on stage and hit someone over words. The discussion turned to whether the incident escalated, but Jim disagreed. He felt it didn't escalate at all, and it came completely out of nowhere. According to him, Will Smith had something bottled up inside that caused him to snap. Jim made it clear that he doesn't hold personal grudges against Smith, and acknowledged that Smith has done many great things, but his feelings were as clear as day. Still, he said the slap was a bad moment that overshadowed what should have been a shining night for everyone involved. So far, there hasn't been any official punishment for Smith, though the Academy has said it may take action over the incident. Smith has since apologized to Rock, but Rock hasn't publicly responded or accepted the apology. Even though the Oscars moment happened years ago, it's still being talked about, and Jim's perspective adds another voice to the conversation. His thoughts show that not everyone in Hollywood is okay with how things are handled, sparking questions about accountability, celebrity culture, and how people react when a famous person does something wrong. If Jim Carrey's issues with Will Smith are all about Hollywood giving famous people a free pass, what's behind his dislike for the next actor on his list? Next up, we have a carefree joke that escalated into a social media battle. Number 5. Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf got some attention during the 2014 Golden Globes, but it wasn't the kind he would have hoped for. The actor, who had announced that he was stepping away from all public life after being caught up in a controversial situation, was subtly dissed by Jim Carrey while presenting at the awards show. Jim's joke was a sarcastic nod to LaBeouf, emphasizing the young actor's reputation for controversial moments and leaving the audience laughing, while also making it clear that LaBeouf had become an easy target that night. At just 27, LaBeouf had already faced a whirlwind of public scrutiny. The criticism surrounding his artistic choices and behavior has weighed heavily on him, ultimately leading him to step back from the spotlight. His decision followed a serious plagiarism controversy that surfaced in mid-December 2013. It was revealed that his short film, HowardCantor.com, borrowed heavily from the graphic novella Justin M. Damiano by author Daniel Clowes without giving proper credit. The revelation drew significant backlash from fans and critics alike, and LaBeouf spent the following weeks issuing multiple public apologies, acknowledging that he had failed to credit Clowes and expressing deep regret for how the situation unfolded. He made it clear that he respected the original work and had been inspired by it, but the lack of proper attribution sparked major controversy that followed him in the public eye. In the days following the Golden Globes, LaBeouf took to social media to announce his retirement from public life, signaling that he wanted to distance himself from the pressure and judgment that come with fame. Even as he left the public eye, LaBeouf made it clear he was grateful to those who had supported him throughout his career. At the same time, he hinted at his frustration with the scrutiny artists often face, suggesting that the constant judgment can be overwhelming and discouraging for creators trying to share their work with the world. Though the controversy was serious, some people noted the almost theatrical nature of LaBeouf's public apologies, likening them to a performance in their own right. His decision to step back from public life seemed to be an attempt to regain control over his career and personal well-being, removing himself from the spotlight long enough to reflect and reset. Not long after Jim Carrey made his joke at the Golden Globes, Shia LaBeouf responded in a confusing tweet that left many scratching their heads. It turned out that LaBeouf was paraphrasing something Jim had once said about Andy Kaufman back in 1999 while promoting Man on the Moon. The reference didn't land well, leaving the public baffled and making the situation feel even more tangled. LaBeouf then tried to pivot by sharing a link to a music video starring Jane Carrey, Jim's daughter, who some might remember from her 2012 American Idol audition. While Jane's singing is genuinely impressive, the move only added to the chaos surrounding LaBeouf's online activity that day. The situation escalated a few hours later when LaBeouf responded to an article about Jim's jab with a more hostile tweet, which has since been deleted. In the tweet, he claimed that Jim had supposedly abandoned his daughter, Jane, and referenced legal troubles on Los Angeles highways. That accusation definitely packed a punch, especially since Jenny McCarthy, who dated Jim for 5 years, revealed that the comedian always finds a way to slip out of any chance to spend time with her 10-year-old son, Evan. However, the claims of a strained relationship between Jim and his daughter were quickly disproved, as Jim actually maintains a close relationship with his daughter, and LaBeouf seemed to realize his mistake soon after. LaBeouf then posted an apology acknowledging that Jim is actively involved in Jane's life, and expressed regret for his earlier statements. That tweet was later deleted as well. In an ironic twist, both of LaBeouf's controversial tweets were inspired by a 2012 tweet from media mogul Rupert Murdoch, who had accused actor Hugh Grant of abandoning a child before later apologizing. The parallels didn't go unnoticed and added another layer of absurdity to the whole saga. Finally, LaBeouf posted what seemed to be his last word on the matter, declaring that he was no longer famous, signaling his retreat from public life. The series of tweets left fans and observers bewildered, watching a combination of confusion, aggression, and eventual correction unfold in real time. Meanwhile, Jim Carrey remained silent throughout the entire kerfuffle. Perhaps he chose not to engage because, as a seasoned celebrity, he knows there are bigger things to focus on than responding to viral Twitter spats. However, while his tense relationships with Will Smith and Shia LaBeouf had understandable reasons, his feud with the next actor on our list remains a complete mystery. What could possibly have sparked a decade-long clash? Number 4. Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey famously had a feud while filming Batman Forever. A feud that produced Jones's now immortal line about Jim: "He cannot sanction Jim's buffoonery." The two actors played iconic Batman villains, Jones as the menacing Two-Face and Jim as the chaotic Riddler in Joel Schumacher's 1995 take on The Dark Knight. A lot of the film's charm comes from its villains. Jones and Jim brought gravitas and absurdity to their roles, dressed in Joel's signature neon excess. While their characters teamed up on screen, the actors themselves were not particularly close. Jim was fresh off a legendary year, starring in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, securing his status as a comedy superstar. Meanwhile, Jones had already won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for The Fugitive and had 2 Academy Award nominations under his belt. Both men were at powerful points in their careers, though Jim was still rising, while Jones was a well-established star. The tension between them became apparent off-camera. During filming, Jim ran into Jones at a restaurant the night before they were scheduled to shoot one of their biggest scenes together. Jim, eager to introduce himself, approached the legendary actor, only to find Jones visibly tense. The actor reportedly got up shaking, told Jim he disliked him, and then delivered his famous line about Jim's buffoonery. It was a bizarrely intimate but awkward moment, highlighting the clash between Jim's exuberant comedic style and Jones's serious, measured approach. Years later, Jim has recounted the story with laughter, framing it as a strange but memorable experience rather than a deep-seated grudge. The encounter remains one of the more colorful, behind-the-scenes stories from Batman Forever, showing just how different personalities can collide on set, even among some of Hollywood's most celebrated actors. Despite the tension, both men delivered memorable performances, and the story of their off-screen feud has become part of the film's enduring legacy. While neither Jim nor anyone else can fully know what was going on in Jones's mind. Jones is normally very private and has hardly ever spoken about the movie or the incident. Jim has an idea. He believes that his own star power at the time may have been part of the issue. By 1995, Jim was one of the biggest names in Hollywood, fresh off an incredible year that included hits like Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. Meanwhile, Jones, a seasoned actor and Academy Award winner, was used to being the most considerable presence on set. Jim speculates that this change might have made Jones uncomfortable, especially since the Riddler was such a dominant character in the film, giving Jim a larger-than-usual on-screen presence. The dynamic may have felt like a challenge to Jones, who was usually the most prominent figure on set. Jim also acknowledges that the type of work in Batman Forever may not have been Jones's natural style. While he was a master of dramatic, intense roles, the movie's over-the-top comic energy might have felt out of place for him. Jim gave his co-star grace, suggesting that some of Jones's frustration could have stemmed from discomfort with the project, rather than a personal dislike of Jim. Looking back, Jim sees the encounter at the restaurant as an odd, memorable story, rather than a genuine feud. He doesn't hold any grudges, and has a lot of respect for Jones's talent, calling him a phenomenal actor, and admitting that he still loves working with him. Jim seems to view the whole episode as a funny experience, recognizing that tensions on set happen, and that he himself has probably frustrated castmates over the years. many can probably see why Jones might have disliked him. Beyond his comedy and commentary, Jim has stirred controversy in the political arena as well. Which of his political views have landed him in trouble? And who has he clashed with? Number 3. Ted Cruz. Jim Carrey probably wasn't on Ted Cruz's list of favorite people after the 2018 U.S. Senate race. The actor, known for his outspoken political views, got himself into a public feud with the Texas senator over a drawing he posted online. Jim created a political illustration depicting Cruz as a vampire and his Democratic opponent, Beto O'Rourke, as a heroic figure defeating the vampire with sunlight. The image was shared on Twitter with Jim's usual dramatic flair, encouraging voters to let the sunshine turn all those bloodsuckers to dust. The post quickly caught attention and didn't go unnoticed by Cruz. The senator responded with his own sharp online comment, mocking Jim's attempt at political humor. He pointed out that, as a self-described socialist, Jim had made a mistake, noting that vampires are dead and implying that the dead vote Democrat. It was a pointed jab at both the artwork and Jim himself. Despite the drama online, the race went in Cruz's favor. On November 6, 2018, Cruz defeated O'Rourke, showing that Jim's artistic intervention, while funny to many fans, hadn't changed the outcome. Still, the exchange highlighted just how easily Jim can stir up political controversy with a single image or tweet. Jim has a long history of using his art and humor to make political points, and this wasn't the first time he had called out politicians on social media. His work often blends satire with dramatic visuals, making statements that get people talking. In this case, he leaned on the vampire metaphor to criticize Cruz and energize voters to support O'Rourke, using the classic good versus evil imagery of light overcoming darkness. While Cruz may not have been impressed, many Jim fans appreciated the playful yet pointed nature of the artwork. The feud was short-lived, but it was a memorable moment in the actor's ongoing habit of mixing satire and politics. For Jim, it was less about the outcome of the election and more about making a statement, showing that he isn't afraid to combine art with activism, even if it means ruffling a few political feathers along the way. Jim Carrey and Ted Cruz found themselves clashing again in 2019 over another political cartoon. This time, Jim created a sketch portraying Alabama's anti-abortion governor as a doomed fetus, continuing his habit of bold, provocative political artwork. The drawing immediately drew attention and sparked controversy, prompting Cruz to speak out against it. Cruz responded on social media, calling the artwork unacceptable and criticizing what he described as a growing trend of anger and viciousness from the political left. While he disagreed strongly with Jim's politics, he emphasized the importance of civility and respecting one another as human beings. Cruz expressed disappointment that Jim's approach didn't seem to reflect that same respect. Interestingly, Cruz's disapproval didn't stop Jim from stirring the pot with his infamous painting, and his next target? Not a politician, not an actor, just someone lucky or unlucky enough to be on his radar. Number 2. Mark Zuckerberg. Jim Carrey recently stirred up attention online with a bold cartoon he posted of Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. The sketch was a playful but pointed portrait of the tech mogul, accompanied by the caption, "Who are you sharing your life with?" and the hashtag #, regulate Facebook. The image, originally shared in color, was reposted in black and white and included one of Zuckerberg's infamous quotes from 2004. "They trust me, dumb fucks," allegedly said about Facebook users at Harvard. Jim's timing was no coincidence. He reposted the sketch just days after investigative reports revealed that Facebook had secretly shared the personal data of 50 million users with Cambridge Analytica. This political research group worked for Donald Trump's presidential campaign. The revelations, covered by outlets like The Observer and The New York Times, sparked outrage among users, journalists, and politicians on both sides of the Atlantic. People were angry that such a massive amount of personal information had been mishandled and used for political purposes without consent. Unsurprisingly, Jim's post caught fire online. Many people praised him for calling out Zuckerberg and holding the tech giant accountable. Supporters shared messages of encouragement, saying things like, "Keep going, Jim, you've gotten their attention," and "You are correct to call out this shameful entity. They have betrayed the public's trust and subjected an entire generation to unjust surveillance." The responses showed that Jim's message resonated with people who were already frustrated with Facebook's handling of personal data. Jim's action is part of a larger trend of celebrities using their platforms to highlight social and political issues. In this case, he combined his art, humor, and social media reach to raise awareness of serious concerns about privacy, corporate responsibility, and public trust. By turning a serious issue into a striking visual message, Jim made a statement that was both memorable and widely shared. Some social media users argue that people should understand the risks of sharing personal information online. They point out that on platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, nothing is truly private, and everything posted, shared, or interacted with can be tracked and harvested. Jim has used his platform to highlight this issue, showing that even high-profile users are not immune to the data controversies surrounding social media. In the heat of the moment, Jim also took a bold step by deleting his Facebook account and selling his stock in the company. He explained that he felt the platform profited from Russian interference in U.S. elections and wasn't doing enough to prevent it. He encouraged other investors who cared about the future to follow suit, making it clear that he sees social media accountability as more than just a personal concern. It's a public responsibility. Alongside his activism, Jim has been sharing a flurry of artistic work. He's always loved drawing and painting, and recently his sketches have taken on a political edge. One of his more controversial pieces appeared to depict White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Jim captioned it as a portrait of a person whose role, he felt, was to lie for the wicked, calling it monstrous. While a spokeswoman confirmed the sketches were his, she didn't directly confirm the subject. Shortly after, Jim shared another piece that seemed to target President Trump, blending his art with pointed political commentary. Unsurprisingly, reactions to the sketches were mixed. Some fans were upset, feeling that Jim had crossed a line. One tweeted that this was a reason they were done with Hollywood, calling the sketches bullying and unfair. Another said their family enjoyed Jim's films, but the political artwork made them reconsider, adding that they could no longer enjoy his earlier work like Ace Ventura. Not everyone shared that view. Many praised the sketches as sharp, truthful depictions. One user argued that Jim truly captured Sanders' essence, while another pointed out the hypocrisy of some critics, suggesting that if the portrait had been of Hillary Clinton instead, conservative users would have embraced it. One particularly high-profile clash came in March 2019, when Jim drew the ire of Alessandra Mussolini, granddaughter of the infamous Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. Jim shared a sketch on Twitter depicting Mussolini and his mistress, Claretta Petacci, strung up by their feet in a Milan square after their execution in 1945. He captioned the drawing with a pointed comment about the dangers of fascism, highlighting the historical consequences of the dictator's reign. Alessandra Mussolini, a member of Italy's Forza Italia party and niece of Sophia Loren, did not take kindly to Jim's caricature. She publicly insulted him on social media, calling him a bastard and accusing him of being indifferent to historical atrocities committed by Americans, including the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. the slaughter of Native Americans, and what she referred to as the history of Rosa Parks. She also added that Jim's political commentary through art amounted to nothing more than dirty paper that wouldn't affect President Donald Trump. Jim chose not to respond to Mussolini's attacks, letting the sketch speak for itself. This incident is just one example of how his outspoken opinions and politically charged art have repeatedly sparked backlash. While some admire Jim for using his platform to make provocative statements, others see his approach as unnecessarily confrontational or insensitive. Jim's love of painting goes deeper than politics. In a 2017 short documentary, I Needed Color, he explained that he expresses his inner life through his art. The darkness and brightness in his paintings reflect his emotions, and he began painting seriously as a way to cope with difficult times. He shared that during a particularly painful period, he turned to painting to heal a broken heart, finding a new creative outlet beyond sketching. At number 1, we have a writer who can't seem to understand or stand Jim Carrey's unpredictable personality. Who do you think this is? Number 1. John Romita Jr. Jim Carrey stirred up controversy in June 2013 over his role in Kick-Ass 2, a dark comedy based on the popular comic book series. The film, which Jim had starred in, came under fire from the actor himself, who publicly criticized its violent content. On Twitter, he announced that he could no longer support the movie, citing the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School in December 2012 as a turning point. Jim explained that while he had filmed the movie a month before the shooting, he now felt he couldn't support promoting a film with that level of violence on his conscience. He apologized briefly in the same post, though it was unclear whether his sign-off was a typo or shorthand for everyone. His remarks quickly drew criticism from Kick-Ass writer John Romita Jr., who expressed frustration in an interview with Comic Book Resources. Romita felt that Jim's public statement undermined the film and its message, arguing that the actor missed an opportunity to integrate his anti-violence stance with the character he played. In the story, Jim's character eventually gives up guns and becomes a good guy, a plot point that Romita thought could have aligned with Jim's concerns about violence. Instead, he felt that Jim cashed his paycheck and then publicly attacked the film, creating tension behind the scenes. Romita didn't hold back in calling Jim a bonehead and made it clear that he didn't see a future for collaboration with the actor. He believed that someone with even a basic understanding of storytelling could have used the role to express personal values without publicly criticizing the movie. Instead, Romita saw Jim's comments as a misstep that overshadowed the work he and Mark Miller had put into the film. Romita's frustration with Jim's public criticisms highlights a pattern in the actor's behavior. He doesn't shy away from speaking his mind, even when it courts controversy. One area where this outspoken streak has drawn particular attention is his stance on vaccines. In June 2015, he publicly criticized California Governor Jerry Brown after the signing of a law that eliminated personal and religious exemptions for vaccines. Jim took to Twitter to express his disapproval, claiming the law would force children to receive vaccines containing mercury and aluminum. He went as far as to call the governor a corporate fascist and urged that the policy be stopped, according to coverage by the Sacramento Bee. Not everyone found Jim's tweet serious or appropriate. Writer Matt Oswalt responded with a sharp quip referencing Jim's own work, jokingly asking if this was his way of announcing Dumb and Dumber 3. While humorous, Oswalt's comment highlighted just how polarizing Jim's statements could be. Jim, however, did not reply directly to Oswalt, showing that he wasn't interested in engaging in a back-and-forth about the joke. Following some backlash, Jim attempted to clarify his position. He explained that he is not anti-vaccine in general, but is specifically concerned about certain ingredients, particularly thimerosal, which contains mercury. He noted that while some vaccines have reduced levels of thimerosal, not all have, and he wanted to raise awareness about the potential risks. This clarification emphasized that his opposition was more about specific compounds rather than vaccination as a whole, though public perception often painted him as being anti-vaccine. Jim Carrey's long list of critics stretches across every corner of the entertainment world, and it doesn't stop there. We'll also reveal why some well-known conservation television hosts aren't exactly fans of his bold personality. Feud with Fox TV hosts. Jim Carrey hasn't exactly won over conservative television hosts, and that's putting it mildly. Over the years, he has become a frequent target for criticism on right-leaning networks, with Fox and Friends often leading the charge. In March 2018, the show dedicated an entire segment to Carrey's political cartoons, talking about the actor's sharp satirical takes on prominent figures. Co-host Ainsley Earhart expressed frustration at what she saw as a double standard, pointing out that while liberal activists often preach tolerance and organize marches and protests, Jim's cartoons seem to go unchecked in ways she felt were unfair. The segment underscored just how polarizing Jim's outspoken political views can be, especially in media spaces where conservative audiences dominate. Jim's critics didn't stop there. On Fox Business later that same year, host Lisa Kennedy Montgomery did not hold back and also criticized him during a September episode, calling out what she saw as hypocrisy among liberal celebrities. She argued that stars like Jim and Sean Penn often present themselves as champions of fairness and social causes while pursuing fame and attention, suggesting that their public persona can feel performative. Lisa even compared the desire to appear cool to a kind of addiction, claiming that once someone experiences that high, they spend the rest of their life chasing it. According to her, Jim's charitable or political gestures sometimes come across as self-serving or aimed more at public image than genuine impact. It's clear that Jim has never been shy about expressing his opinions, and his political cartoons, public statements, and activism have made him a lightning rod for conservative media criticism. The discussions on shows like Fox and Friends and Fox Business illustrate that even outside of politics, Jim's persona as a comedian and actor intersects with public perceptions of celebrity responsibility, social influence, and hypocrisy. For some conservative commentators, his outspoken liberal views and irreverent humor make him an easy target. Despite the criticism, Jim seems largely unfazed by the backlash, continuing to share his mostly uncommon opinions and create provocative art without much regard for detractors. Whether it's through social media, political cartoons, or interviews, he embraces the role of outspoken celebrity, fully aware that not everyone will agree with his approach. Which of Jim Carrey's feuds surprised you the most? And do you think his bold opinions are brave or just controversial? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.